So everyone is online right now? Yeah? Okay, let me start with a couple of questions. So first, what do you expect from this session? I love emojis, in case it wasn't obvious enough. Only 4 of them. So I want to understand your expectations. No one is voting. No one. Oh, for a moment there. Okay, I'll keep my sound a little bit lower to make sure that whoever wants to sleep can still sleep while I'm trying to convey a message throughout the whole session, okay? So some of you are counting on learning something. That's good. Some others want to learn and apply. So I'm going to give you my point of view regarding what I usually do. So my name is EDUARDO Espinheira, and I usually work as a consultant. And when I work as a consultant, you may think, what does a consultant do? In reality, nothing. Um, we are just consultant. But on top of that, usually we have to sell ideas, explain ideas. And I want to tell you exactly one of my biggest issues, which is quality. Because most of the times I have to talk about testing, the importance of quality assurance, the importance of why the heck we need so much time to do something, you know? That's my main problem. So today I decided to give you a little peek of the kind of techniques or even the kind of conversations that I have usually with a lot of people. Okay? It is as if I gave you the driver's seat for you to decide if you want to use a couple of tools that I usually use as my trick to explain quality definitions and all that. Okay? So I want to know a little bit more about you guys. So tell me, who of you are newbies, apprentices, journeymen, or experienced? These are just 4 levels, just to know my audience. Now I know that it will take a little bit of time. I won't stress about it. It's the first time that I really feel I should have decided for a couple of soundtracks. These moments. I promise I won't sing. Okay, so we've got a couple of newbies. We have experienced people. You courageous guys. Never tell a consultant that you are experienced. That's a big no-no. You shouldn't do that because we are counting that you are smarter than we are. Okay? I can see you are hearing me. That's good. That's good. So the reason I ask exactly which level you are is to understand the audience. This is very important when we want to explain something, right? Usually, we don't have this kind of audience, do we? All of us here are related to quality. And we are not just related, we decided to take time to learn about quality for these sessions, right? So we're not just people from quality, we are interested in quality. But usually the people we talk with are not that interested in quality, are they? So we are just a bunch of outliers, even the newbies. And that's important for us to understand exactly what that means when we try to explain something, okay? So if we have people from quality, once again, I'm going to ask you something, but it has a little bit of a catch. I'm going to ask you guys your definition or definitions of quality, okay? Now, on the form, I want you guys to use one word per field, just to see a word cloud of the main words that we use to define quality. So imagine that you define quality as complying with something. I want you to put complying with something in 3 different fields, okay? Just to make sure that we see the kind of words that all of us use to explain quality to someone, okay? Any questions? No, because you are experienced. And see, that's why you should never say experience. Once again, I'm missing the soundtrack. Decide for one. No, as much as you can. Feel free. As if you had rights. As if it was a democracy. As if. As if. I had a teacher that told me that you should never use the defined on the definition. But it still works, by the way. It still works. By the way, you can submit more than once to do it. Okay. This is interesting, isn't it? So behavior, compliance with expectations, expectation more than once, success, user, attributes, result, client, free, mission, testing, behavior, but goal and requirements, and I'm still going to use expectations as something that we use more often, are what we use most of the time. User requirements, perfect. Performance, okay. It's interesting to see this, isn't it? Because the problem here usually is that people have different definitions of quality, don't we? Even Joanna explained that, didn't she? She talked about different dimensions of quality. It depends if you are looking from the user point, the supplier point, the product point. They are all different, but at the same time, we are talking about the same things. And if we can't really explain what we do, we can't really explain to someone why it is so important for us to work in quality. Why it is so important for us to take time to invest in quality to make sure that something has performance, can be tested, is trustworthy, has excellence, has confidence, complies with requirements, has the right experience expectation. You know, that's the problem with quality. And usually, this is one of my main problems. Because considering that we are all outliers and we work in quality, if we were perfect, which we are not, we are just human, we are kind of flawed. But if we were perfect, our definition should be always the same, isn't it? I'm just thinking that because the problem here is exactly that one. When I try to see quality, I use or I hear things like fitness for use, the totality of characteristics of an entity that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. This is from the PMBOK. Zero defects. I hear this a lot. You know, which bears me immediately that image of that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, zero defect. Okay. Have you ever done something wrong? So, yeah, zero defect. So you're not compliant. Please get away. Get out of here. Doesn't make sense, does it? But they are aiming for this. So the definition of quality was zero defect. In the Agile Manifesto, and I went for the Agile Manifesto, I even saw some couple of interviews from those 17 people that went into the mountain and scribed into tables the Agile Manifesto, the values and the principles. And none of them talk specifically about quality. They talk about working software and customer satisfaction. And it was the best definition that I could find within everything that they talked about. And remember, they were trying to explain that they have found something that was better for us to achieve quality. Great, isn't it? Never use the word. Never. Maybe it is a bad word in English. I don't know, but usually I still use it. So I'm going to continue. Now, in the ISO 9001, which I'm very fond of, the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics of an object fulfills requirements. Once again, requirements. Now, if I have this, I still have a problem. So, since I want to understand how this is going, please, because I want to assess the quality of the session. Of course, I'm going to see how many people are sleeping. Still the one, which is good, which means that I'm not really talking that high. So I'm going to continue with this pace. But some people left, I think. No one hates me until this moment. Yeah, but the suspense is killing me. Most? Want to see who wins? Ah, two people sleeping. Thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you. Now, to continue, why am I asking this? Because if I'm a consultant and I'm focused on delivering quality, shouldn't I ask a lot of times if I'm compliant to your expectation, to your requirements, even though we never set really requirements? Did we? Did we talk about them? Did I approach each and every one of you to understand exactly what you were expecting? Trying to seek some kind of common ground just to make sure that I could comply with those expectations? That's the problem, isn't it? We all want quality, but it isn't that easy first to achieve, then to define. That's why I have one more question, which is, in your opinion, what is the main obstacle to achieve quality? And I already gave you a couple of hints, so feel free. You experienced people and journeymans. Hard question. This time I think I'm going to put some music. Go with a subliminal message. Clearly a music that only consultants would show off, right? Completely. I'm just going to wait. The rest of the music is just on repeat. Have you realized this? This music is really easy. So, the main obstacle. I love whoever said product owners. I'm also very fond of the answer, people. The problem is people. If we didn't have to deal with people, everything would work more smoothly, which is completely right. People have bugs, don't they? They do. And some of them don't have the required or available fixes for those bugs. At least that's my opinion. So, mankind, thank you. Lack of time, communication, technology delays, things that were never done before, good requirements, unrealistic objectives, too high expectations, misalignment on the expectations, clear requirements and software rules, not asking often customer if they are satisfied with the product. Thank you for that. Misunderstanding customer needs. Can you see the pattern? The problem usually is with the definition, isn't it? If we don't set clearly what we are going to do or what we expect automatically, the other person doesn't have the ability to provide what I ask. Because first, probably I don't ask as I should, right? I'm not entitled to define exactly everything that I want, because even if I do, on the other side, they may have other solutions that I never thought of. So definition of quality is much difficult than it should, right? Now, considering this, tell me, how often do you hear that quality is subjective? Just, just for fun. And share with you my answer in 12 seconds. This one is easy. It doesn't deserve a song. Every day, of course. Regularly, once in a while. Okay. Still waiting for the rest. Roll. Never was the fortunate one. I hate you immediately. The problem here is clear, isn't it? Quality isn't really subjective. Quality is really objective. The problem is that it really takes time and a lot of effort for us to define quality. Every time we are trying to supply something, some kind of good, some kind of service, we should be concerned and invest a lot of time to define the quality for that person, for that customer, right? But we don't do so, and we don't do so in a lot of normal scenarios. Now, I know this is probably will be a little bit shocking, but how do you like your meat? You can really point there. This is an image. You can point exactly where you want your meat. I like the expression kicking and screaming. You can use the Mentimeter just to point exactly. Exactly. You see, this is a 5-level doneness, meat levels defined. But you know what? I have seen 3. Usually here in Porto, if you go to any restaurant, if they are concerned enough, they ask you, how do you want your meat? Isn't it? Well done, medium, or in some case they say rare, right? But there are a couple of things in between. And this is a 5-level scale. I've seen this with 7-level, with 10-level scale. I've seen this depending on which kind of meat we are talking about, because that makes sense, right? But were you ever asked with this detail just for you to point exactly what kind of meat or at which level are you going to on it? No, right? Do you know that this can even be explained? So can you do something like this? So put your hand like this. Now push your finger over here. Okay, that's rare. This just medium rare. Medium, medium well, none. I know, need to blame my man also, because it's so obvious. No one has ever asked me that. And this is so critical for our everyday lives that most of the times I use the expression kicking and screaming, or just kill whatever animal you are talking about and bring it on, because I prefer to say something extreme than to ask for something like medium rare, medium, or medium well, and not be presented with what I was expecting. It was so common for me, even when I asked for milk. I remember being very young, and at that time I loved milk, but I didn't like cold milk or hot milk. I just wanted that perfect, that perfect temperature that I could drink and not have any kind of injury in my mouth, but at the same time not drink and get ill of the cold, you know. But every time that I asked for milk and I said, no, not hot, not cold, something in between, they said, okay, it was always the extreme. Most of the times, very hot. So I did some surgery here just to regain the palate and everything here because it was horrible. Now, what happens is that my answer for that was to start enjoying cold milk. So this means that me as a customer decided to go to an extreme of something that I didn't like, and until I started to like it, because the definition of quality wasn't there. I wasn't able to ask for something that was comprehended or understood on the other side. Now imagine how many times our customers do that. Because I can show you a couple of other examples. I can show exactly the same thing with bananas. How ripe do you love them? For instance, strangely, my girlfriend somehow loves the extreme part of that, which for me is exactly the point where I think I should throw them in the garbage. And she says, no, they are wonderful. But since I still love her, I'm going to understand that and continue. But I'm more fond of whoever has pointed for the middle. So ripe enough to be able to eat without having that sensation that I ate something that I shouldn't, right? That, you know, but when you try to wash your own tongue, right? That's the green one, right? But at the same time, that's not very easy to define, right? So the problem with the quality that we have is that it is really hard for us to explain. What should I say? I want yellow banana, yellowish, yellow without spots, or with some spots, 2 spots maximum. Can we do that? I'm talking about simple examples because these simple examples are much simpler than the complexity that we have with software, than the complexity that we have even for an email, the complexity that we have for anything else that we try to create for someone else, isn't it? Once again, a simple scale, 7 levels. Now, once again, I want to know where I'm at. Without the music. I woke up someone. I'm I'm so sorry. I'm going to lower my voice once again just to make sure that okay. For a moment there, I was really concerned. Or maybe I woke that person. He had better things to do, and then someone fell asleep. So I'm sorry for that. So if we continue, I'm going to give you a solution. Now, a solution, as a consultant, we always have solutions, don't we? We have a bag of them. So, drum roll, of course. Now I feel that we missed the sound. So, thank you for that. Well, the solution is acceptance criteria. We have to explain constantly that we need acceptance criteria. I know you hate me for this because you are going to explain this to someone, aren't you? No, but even the solution is better when we just see acceptance criteria. I want to understand which are the criteria for which I can accept for you what you ask. There is even an amazing book, a really small book, that says that we should, when we try to delegate something, try to explain in 250 words what we want. And even they, which aren't from software, they just said, explain the success criteria. Explain which are the criteria that you are going to use to know that what you asked is being achieved before you give it to me. So if I try to delegate something, I first explain what I'm waiting for you, what I expect from you is this. And the way I'm going to accept that is I'm going to see, for instance, imagine that it was a presentation, okay? Here in NATIXIS, I asked for a presentation for someone to explain the definition of quality, okay? Perfect for this? I should say something like, please use the NATIXIS template. Please explain whatever you want in English. By the way, we use here American English, not British English. So don't say something like schedule or whatever, or try to use the American English, okay? I only want 5 slides. One of them is the title slide. I want a wrap up at the end or some kind of conclusion in 1 slide or even 2. We don't do this, don't we? We usually say, presentation now, go. And along the way, they have to ask, should I use some kind of template? Should it be in English, French, Portuguese, whatever? What kind of tone should I use? Should I use a lot of things, a lot of images? Should I have slides which are self-explanatory? For instance, Joanna did that. All her slides were self-explanatory. So she was showing us exactly the kind of slides because she was concerned to make sure that people that weren't here could see the slides, read them, and understand what she wanted to convey. That was her motivation. Interesting, isn't it? But that's just a way of approaching something. It isn't the only way, it is one way. And this is so obvious that we can even have that for small things. For instance, when we talk about the tenderness evaluation, I gave you this technique. Why? Because now you can see, well, I want over here or over here. And if that person understands that kind of language, says, okay, I can feel it and validate if I'm delivering the meal, or in this case, the meat as it was supposed to. Or if I take a picture of, please find me this kind of bananas or this kind of kiwis or this kind of limes or this kind of whatever. It will be easier for someone to compare and just say, okay, I got it. This really matches, so I can deliver it to you. Now, on top of that, we use dichotomous keys. This is a big word, but it is really easy. When we were young, we use this a lot in sciences because we use this usually to classify animals, plants, rocks. I remember specifically for the rocks. I remember the questions were something like, okay, what is the color of the rock? If you use your nail, does the nail leave any kind of markings? Can you try to destroy the rock? Does it bend over or does it stay still? If I use acid, in that case sulfuric acid, does it react or doesn't do anything? And after a couple of acceptance criteria, I could say, oh, this is basalt. Oh, this is marble. Oh, this is an igneous rock for whatever. We even have this for animals. In this example for vertebrates, we ask, do they have fur or no fur? Fur, perfect, mammal. No fur, fantastic. Do they have feathers or no feathers? We are asking the acceptance criteria and giving the answers. Imagine that I wanted a fish. So I want a vertebrate with no fur, with no feathers, moist skin, and scales. Does it make sense? Because usually we are doing this in our heads. What I want to explain is that we should this in a more obvious way to our customers for them to understand what we are going through. Because every time we are doing testing, we are doing this, isn't it? Testing is the definition of all the acceptance criteria that we have to use to make sure that when I deliver something, my customer says that was exactly what I wanted. And I do that, and it takes me a lot of time to do this because I keep telling, because I'm a consultant, things like, I am representing you. I want to have the problems before you do. I want to test something that was supposed for you to use, and if it fails, I'll be there to explain that it failed. I'm there because you want to make sure that the first time that you use it, that it works immediately. And you know what? That never happens. Even those crazy guys of the first time right, that never happens. Someone was there before you doing testing and seeing, oh, it fell over here. Let me change it. It fell over there. Let me correct it. It fell once again over there. Oh, that part that I fixed before, it failed again, which never happened before. We are there because we are embodying the customer at that moment. So if you want to explain quality for someone, explain that you are representing them the whole time. Explain that you are doing a dichotomous key of everything they are going to go through to validate that what they wanted is delivered. Does it make sense? Still, in that case, let's create a very easy dichotomous key for fruits. So we have a strawberry, orange, kiwi, lime, and apple. Okay. I can see people are fond of fruit. That's nice. So what kind of criteria should we use? What kind of acceptance criteria should we use to define this? I'll give you a couple of hints. Outside color, origin, seeds color, size, inside color, shape, or other. You can vote on which order you will use, just to see what kind of dichotomous key we could get, okay? You want me to show once again the fruit? I know you want to, but I won't. So it is a strawberry, a kiwi, a lime, and an apple. To do the dichotomous key tree, you would ask a lot of questions until you got that perfect answer. For instance, someone has already voted, so they would start with outside color or size, then outside color, then shape, then inside color, then other, I don't know, then origin, then seeds color. Okay. I'll give you just a couple more minutes just to make sure that you all vote. I should have given the results. You are becoming biased. Now everyone is saying, oh, outside color, that's a good one. Which, by the way, it is. Because if you start with the color of the seeds, it means that you have to open whatever fruit you have in your hand, right? But even if that was right, while we wait, I can give you a couple of conclusions. First, it isn't important the order, is it? The most important part that it complies with all the criteria for me to make sure that I don't deliver a lime instead of an apple, right? So despite the fact that we usually try to see that we have a couple of acceptance criteria which are more important than the others, for us, most of the times, we just want to make sure that we understand all of them. Now, if you immediately accept in your life that you're not going to have all the acceptance criteria that you should have from the customer, every acceptance criteria that you have already defined are really useful, right? Really useful. So if you do that the whole time and you explain to someone why you are doing it, maybe they'll be a little bit more understanding of the time it takes for us to do this validation, right? When I wanted to explain this session, I wanted to make sure that I gave you my kind of bag of tricks to explain quality and why I use these kind of examples. And I really want you guys to use this. So every time I'm here and I hear someone says, imagine a line. So imagine a dichotomous key. I'll be very happy because my biggest goal here was to make sure that you could explain something so complex as quality and something so important as the need for acceptance criteria for everyone else. If you don't do that, everything that you are trying to do for them will be really strange because it takes time, it takes money, and on top of that, it keeps failing, doesn't it? We never have good news, do we? Even Joanna was talking about the amount of bugs that we have already registered, right? No one wants to talk about that go wrong. When that happens, explain this. And if that's not enough, explain one more thing. Imagine that it had failed in your hand. You prefer that or for it to fail in my side before you receive something that is already working? Imagine that it was really critical for you to have that working. Imagine that it failed during a presentation. Would you want that? Or do you want to prepare something before? Do some kind of dry run. Just to make sure that on the given moment, on the most important moment, that it will be brilliant as it should. Does this make sense for everyone? Okay. In that case, this is an example of what we could use to do all of this. Once again, all of us could have done different dichotomous key trees. They will all be valuable. They will all be interesting. They will all be normal, right? Correct? If we could have exactly the same result, I couldn't care less. I just care about the end result in this case. Now, wrap up. I just have a couple of messages that I want to explain. Quality is objective. So every time someone says that it is subjective, breathe, smile, say, really? Why do you say that? When you go to a restaurant, and if they are vegan or they don't like meat, which is normal, talk about fruit. Same thing. Same thing. How do you like your bananas? How do you like apples? How do you decide for a specific kind of rice? And then you ask specifically, okay, which one? Isn't everything equal? No? So in that case, you have a definition of quality that I want to understand. Usually, I do a joke regarding cookies. You like cookies? I do. I have a problem with everything that is finger food. That's why I hated the coffee break. It was too good. So I had to distance myself from the food just to make sure that I didn't die just keeping the tray and eating everything. Because it isn't socially acceptable to do that. I don't know why. So my problem with cookies is that I love almost all of them. But if I say to someone, hey, go to the supermarket and buy a pack of cookies, and I don't give any kind of criteria, you know how many different cookies you can find in the supermarket? Just give me a number. 40? 600 different references that you can find in the supermarkets without counting the branded ones and without counting sizes. So if you want to put someone having a panic attack, just say cookies, whatever you want. But when you are there, just ask me if you need something. And they will be salty, sugary, with cream, simple, big bag, small bag, individual bag, big chunk of it, with chocolate, without chocolate, with salted caramel, without salted caramel, with fruit, some kind of fruit, pieces of something, digestive. With come on, it isn't possible. So quality is objective. The other key, it takes time and a lot of patience to define. And by the way, the patient ones are us. Then the importance of this definition should be explained to our customers all the time. All you can show this presentation if you don't. Just someone told me, and is a consultant, that I should explain to you why the hell I'm spending time for you to make sure that you receive what you wanted. Sorry, just in time. And then, after all, we are focused on their satisfaction. As I said before, we are embodying the customer. And if we are embodying the customer, we are representing them at all times. So for us to embody them, we have to understand how they think, what they want to validate before we can say, yes, that's exactly what they wanted. Yes, that was exactly what was asked. Does it make sense till now? As you can imagine, this is the last one. Minutes. Always looking at the time. Oh, 3 people are sleeping. Okay, but they are still sleeping, so that's good. And the person that hated me now is sleeping. Well, that's even better. Even better. Any questions? I think you have to receive some kind of microphone over here. Let me start with no. No.
All right, so I wanted to say, first of all, that it's not me who hated you. Just in
Ah,
case, just in case. Yeah.
honesty. I never believe people that say that that they are honest. Never. Never. Go
Anyway,
ahead.
it's a question and no in the same time. Like what I wanted to say is that, as you said, like it's objective, and I agree with you in that point. But in the same time, I see that quality is a choice from the customer, because, like for example, when you were talking about like some kind of choice when you go order your meat. If I go to a local restaurant that I just want to eat steak, I'm not gonna expect him like to give me that choice. You know, for example, if somebody like going to buy a phone in, I don't know, in X website, somebody who goes to Apple website, like he knows that there he's gonna get the quality. It's like it's also like the choice of the customer. They have the quality that they prove they have quality, and the customer needs to choose. And sometimes it's not always required.
That's perfect. But it is still quality. So it is the quality defined by them. For instance, I have a very good friend that loves different kinds of cell phones that I do. I'm more an iPhone, and he has a Poco phone, which is probably the least expensive phone you could ever find. By the way, I think that was on the ad, the least expensive phone you can find. So we have different definitions of quality, but it is still objective. The only question is, are we clear on the kind of quality that we want for that? Because if I want to find some kind of phone, or if I want to eat something, I could ask for something different, even on different days. And that's one of the biggest problems that you have with quality. The same person, at least I don't eat the same thing every day. Sometimes I feel like I should eat something really fancy. And sometimes I just want to survive. You know, just at the point of what's the minimum required
Stay alive.
food that I should eat. And then on other moments, the expression that my mother uses is, I'm eating as if it was my last day on earth. So it means that I have different sensibilities for quality, but I have to explain that if I want to eat with someone else, I have to explain, you know what, today I want something like this, or today I just want to, I don't know, pick it up. Let's go to a restaurant. No, I prefer just to eat an egg. Tuna. Tuna is that, isn't it? What do you want? Tuna. Oh, you just want to survive. Okay, I get it. The least amount of effort to have something that is eatable. Okay. When I eat fruit or just a loaf of bread, yeah, you're just that level, isn't it? And we all have that. So the quality is still objective. You just have to be really clear about it. That's it. And it can change along the time. I even have an example that really shocked me. So I worked in quality for a couple of years, and then I was really, I had an unfortunate customer, which told me, we need to build a quality team. And I said, okay, great, that's amazing. First, you use quality, which means that you already know that it is important. I'm so happy for that. And then he said, because we know that we deliver constantly releases that have bugs. I said, okay, self-conscious, that's even better. He said quality and is self-aware. Come on, that's almost the holy grail. And then he said, our customer is used to have releases with bugs. I said, okay, now I have a problem because I can't really understand what the customer wants to receive. Because if they are open to receiving software that has bugs, I'll never be able to define exactly what the hell they are trying to get from that, isn't it?
And it's interesting because like recently I read an article about like why the website of Amazon is so ugly. And that is
Sorry?
ugly.
Oh, yeah.
And then like after reading through the article, I saw that people, for example, us, when, for example, like some social media like Instagram or Facebook, they do like even just a small change in where is a button or something, we feel lost.
Yeah.
And Amazon is like the main goal is like if they try to make it look quality, fancy, and everything like Apple do, people are gonna think like it's expensive and everything, I cannot afford it. But when people see it in that way, like looks like cheap, bad quality, it's like attracting more people. And it was really interesting to see this.
Do you remember how the search worked before Google?
Yeah, it was in the indexed.
Alta Vista, InfoSeek, Lycos. So they were amazing. But they had a completely different approach. No one had ever explained, I just want to do searches. Just that. So they redefined what we consider as quality. Because for a long, long period of time, when you wanted to say that you had quality, they over-delivered. You know, even in cars, we have that. Have you ever tried to select a car? It's one of the most stupid experiences that you can have.
Many options.
You start with, I think I like this one. It says, we have 6,000 different options for you to select. We are even aware that this is so paradoxical for someone to understand, to even grasp the options, that we defined a couple of packs. So you just select a pack and say, okay, only 5 different packs, let me see. But you can select the pack and a different option. That's not helping. Once again, cookies in the supermarket, cookies in the supermarket. That's too much, too many options for me. So for a long time, quality was overpromising. And even in some cultures, I hear something that is even more shocking for me, which is gold plating. So you are giving more than it is supposed to. Oh, this is a lot of quality because he gave me more than I asked for. For me, that's not quality. For me, quality is fit for purpose.
That's true.
Is I asked for 3 different acceptance criteria. If you comply with this, I don't care about the color or whatever, but these are my criteria. That's it. That's it. Oh, but I can give you, I didn't ask for that. And usually during my training sessions, I always do the same joke, so I'm sorry for people that have heard it before. You know the expression cherry on top?
Yeah.
Okay. You know one thing about me? I hate cherry. So every time that someone is doing something with a cherry on top, they are destroying the experience that I would have with that specific thing that I asked for. Is it a cake? Is it an ice cream? I didn't ask for the cherry. I really hate cherries. Don't know why. I hate a lot of people. But on top of that, I hate cherries. And people still give you more than you wanted for. Oh, you like chocolate? 1,000 tons of chocolate delivered in your house. And then I said, I like chocolate. I don't want to live off chocolate. There's a difference between the two things. So our problem nowadays is to change the approach or even the perception of quality. So as you said, Amazon, it is ugly, but it is ugly because they designed it to be ugly, because they want to make sure that everything that is presented there is more important than the website. It was studied that like that many years ago. And even for the presentations, I remember that I could never do a presentation like this. This is really clean, isn't it? Can you imagine this 20 years ago? 20 years ago, all of this would have at least 5 logos here on the lower side, at least 5 or 7 colors, my picture at some point, you know. But now we are going from to the other point, minimalism. But there's a tendency, so it changes along the time. I'm taking too long. Thank you. Any more questions? I'm going to be really brief.
Hello. I agree on the point you said quality is objective, but at the same point I disagree because quality can be objective for me or for you, but our vision on quality change. So
Of course.
it's subjective. In general, quality becomes subjective to people. It's subjective individually, but subjective generally. Or no, or I'm seeing things wrong.
As a consultant, I always start with, that's a very good idea. I never thought about that way. And then I go with a knife with, not exactly. The quality is objective, even though it is different for the two of us. What kind of cell phone do you have?
iPhone
iPhone, which one?
10, I think. Yeah.
How many
10.
cameras?
One.
One. Do you want more?
I don't have like.
I had
can
exactly
change some
the
more, but
same thing, but I bought this one because I thought I was going to use the 2 additional cameras. Then I realized I clearly overpaid.
yeah.
You know, so even though we can have different definitions of quality, they are still objective. The question is if it is common. So if I want to create a product that will satisfy both our needs, that's a little bit more tricky. It is still objective. I have to understand yours and mine and try to see the common ground just to make sure that I can comply with each one of them. And because of that, a company like Apple said, I'm going to give you the option for an iPhone Pro, an iPhone Max, an iPhone SE or whatever, and other options for people to say, oh, this is too big, this is too small, I want more cameras or whatever. So even they that try to give you not a lot of options decided that they needed a little bit more just to make sure that they could cover more people. So it is still objective, not subjective. Subjective means that we have an opinion that can't be really validated. Subjective means that you ask for something that I can't really be able to pinpoint and say, okay, it is impossible for me to define. But quality is objective.
I think, in my opinion, subjective has a range that can be like, can make us close to each other on opinion, or can make us far from each other. And being like subjective, I don't see it like a bad thing. I see it like you can be objective on what you are saying. I can be objective. And if we find the common ground, it's the subjectiveness, like the perfect subjectiveness.
Once again, you are right. On the other hand, there's a point with subjectivity. When someone says quality is subjective, usually they follow up with, we can't define this. That's my problem with the expression quality is subjective. It means, oh, this is a problem. I'm aware of it. Doesn't have any kind of solution. So let's not try.
It's easier if we maintain objectiveness as
Yeah.
the one point. Okay.
Just to make sure that quality as a religion, we can still continue with it is objective. Repeat after me. It is objective. Quality is objective. I'm here for you. As a consultant, we do even worse things. Hypnotism, man. Neurolinguistic programming, all of that. All that mumbo jumbo that we can do for everything. Okay?
Thank you.
Any more questions? No? Let's get away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think at home we don't have anyone else. So let me stop. First of all, the recording.